Hello world, welcome to the 156th climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is December 3rd. Next week will be number 157 broadcast, and that'll be December 10th, 2021. I'm in front of the local Christmas celebration. Only thing missing is any hint of snow or cold. So it's not very frigid here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and the way it's going, it probably won't snow till late December, early January. And again, the younger generation doesn't know this, but it used to snow in December. And, right now we're into kind of a weird droughtish situation. So if you look at USA Drought Monitor on the internet, please look it up. You'll see that there's the worst drought in 1,200 years in the United States. And it covers now all but 9 states are in some form of drought. 9 states. Plus Alaska, so that's 10. But if you count Puerto Rico, they're in drought too, severe drought. Hawaii's in terrible drought. So, we got a bad situation developing. So we got 10 states out of 51, it's 50 officially, but 51 that are in some form of drought. All but 10 states. So it's 41 out of 50 states, 51 states are in some form of drought. So the carbon dioxide level keeps going up and up, which I kind of expected. Once the trees lose their leaves, there's more carbon dioxide available in the air. It doesn't get sucked up by the trees. And what's that tell you? We need more trees. So it's at 416.54. The safe zone is 280 parts per million. That was back in the year 1750. If you factor in methane and nitrous oxide and, I'm not even going to account for water vapor because that's the biggest greenhouse gas out there. The hotter the temperatures, the more the air holds water, and it is a greenhouse gas. So in the year 1750, it was 280 parts per million, and that's a safe zone because at that point, temperatures didn't fluctuate a whole lot, and you had feedback loops that kick in after 280 parts per million. So all you need is one feedback loop to cause other feedback loops, and the guy McPherson and other people have stated that there are over 60-some feedback loops. So it's not a good situation, and we're in big trouble, but, it's the same story that I've been saying for the last 3 years, I guess it is. So right now, what happens in the North Pole area and the Arctic in general is that it rains instead of snows as much. So rain causes melt of the permafrost as well, fills up the rivers, which warm up also exponentially, and then it also heats up the Arctic as well. And it causes less snow, and carbon dioxide causes less snow because it warms up the Arctic, which is growing 3 times faster than the rest of the world as far as increase in temperature. So ideas for climate change are great. You have cloud brightening, mirror project, dumping of iron in the oceans to cause phytoplankton blooms, and plant more trees, different things like that. Other people have inventions. Patrick McNulty has great invention. But these ideas are worthless without massive cuts in CO2 emissions and subsidies by our governments to the fossil fuel industry and revamping of the transportation and manufacturing industry. We're not smart concerning that, and we're not recognizing this as a problem. I mean the human race. And it's huge. People are experiencing it right now. The Arctic region affects the outcome whether we survive or not. It affects everything. Paul Beckwith, a renowned scientist in Canada, as stated, whatever happens in the Arctic does not stay in the Arctic. It's the opposite of Las Vegas. So whatever happens in the Arctic affects the rest of the world. And the world leaders are not making the case for climate change, why we need to get involved in it, and more so than coronavirus, actually. It is an existential lethal threat, as Joe Biden said when he was campaigning. Now we don't hear anything from him concerning climate change. If he does, it's a little blip, and it's just lip service. The Congress doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything other than throw $500 billion, whatever it is, at climate change. And that's not nearly enough, and it needs to be directed action, what's going on. And then you got the Republican Party of the United States that believes it's still a hoax or has some doubt about climate change. You try to talk to a Republican about climate change, it's either silence or a smirk, and the same goes with the Democrats too. They're just silent. People won't talk about it. They know I know about stuff about climate change, and no one ever asks any questions about what's happening, the basic stuff. So it's just a little weird as far as, very weird in fact, as far as what goes on with the people in the United States in general. And we got giant trucks doing their business, and that's what we need to change. We need electric trucks and things like that. or whatever it takes to do the transportation. Rail transportation is still the best. So this climate change issue is bigger than all the world wars ever fought. It's bigger than the coronavirus. It's bigger than the Omicron virus. It's all these things. What could have been done to save us? And I'm speaking as if we're in big trouble, and we are. What could have been done? Well, the ideas are great, but we need to cut emissions severely. We need to vote in climate change politicians and vote out posers, people that give lip service. And that is everyone in Congress, basically, and in the United States as far as the executive office goes. We need to vote out politicians that are posers. Don't let people in that are posers or even don't acknowledge climate change at all. Stop doing this. Stop worrying about whether your party's going to win or lose. You better save your own life. And voting in people that are in charge right now is not the way to go. They are corporatists, and they will keep going along this path. Give some lip service, do a little action forward, as Joe Biden did, as far as stand in front of electric trucks in some manufacturing plant in Detroit. But meanwhile, they'll authorize 80 million acres to be leased off to the fossil fuel industry and give over 2,400 leases around the United States since Biden took office. In January 20th, 2,400 leases. So, this is insanity, the path we're going on. This is a murderous path. And it doesn't matter which party's in charge right now, and they both deserve not to be in charge. This is straight up murder and a suicide, what's going on with the whole country and then our government in general. So what could you do? What could you have done? Well, you could have protested. You could still do it. Good luck. Get out there, try to make a difference. And you could educate yourself. But people are too worried about Christmas and what's coming along there, and we're relegating ourselves to not too many more Christmases the way it's going. So it's not happening. It's not going to happen. People aren't going to get out and protest. There's no push. There's nothing going on. None of the politicians making their cases, whether it's local or national politicians. So it's not going to happen. This is just a fact. I'm just standing out there blowing into the wind, and nothing's going to get done. Even as outright collapse happens, the whole American West, as I said, and the United States now, it's spreading around the whole United States, is in some form of drought. All but 10 states out of 50 or 51 states, however you want to count it, are in some form of drought. And west of Mississippi, it's severe drought, and it's not abating, and it might abate. It might be a hurricane or some sort of vapor flow that comes to the United States, river water in the atmosphere, and dump a bunch of rain. But overall, we're in the worst drought in 1,200 plus years. So, there is something called as being too late, and we are really pushing the edge, whether we are there or not. I suspect we are. I really implore you to get out and start protesting. I'm going up to Climate Change Protest Corner and doing my protest. An idea I had was that instead of people worrying about big groups, the people stationed in one area like Climate Change Protest Corner all the time, that would make a big difference because they'd see a presence there all the time rather than just for an hour or two. So you could do that around the world. Extinction Rebellion in London could station people every 50 feet apart, throughout the town, and just have a constant presence there 24/7 all the time, people protesting. So there are things we can do that are different. If this coronavirus gets worse again, do online protests, do online broadcasts. Everyone do it, though. And if you're doing a broadcast or a protest, feel free to post it on my webpage, Jim McHenry. And, I'd like to see it. And if I don't like it, I'll take it down. But I'd like to see your protest, what you're doing yourself and getting out there and doing something. So I implore you to get to it. This is too late, but we got to do something, and nothing's being done. And we're relegating ourselves. And I mean, your life right now is in danger if we don't get to it. So I don't mean your grandchildren or anything like that. Forget them. They're going. If they're not on the planet yet, they're not coming on the planet. So unless we get to it, that's this kind of situation we're in right now. I'll see you next week. That'll be December 10th.